And the other thing worth just dwelling on in our announcements is that Talkback 12.1 hit the streets or the phones just this week. It's not just for those of you running the beta of Android 12. This has been rolled out to devices on other operating systems. Warren, do you want to talk about some of the new features in 12.1?
So we want to call this this is a talkback renaissance, right, Ed? I'm going
That's
back to
right.
But yeah, we really got some cool things we want to talk about, starting from Gboard. So I'm really excited about this because this is really huge in the sense that we finally got that ability to do the double tapping to type on Gboard, because most of the time when someone's looking for a keyboard that they could double tap on, I think the most recommended is that people should try the blind accessibility keyboard. And I'm not saying the blind accessibility keyboard is not a good keyboard, but it hasn't been updated in quite a spell. And now that we have this ability to do double tapping in Gboard to type, I think it is a huge celebration and something that worth talking about. And so in order to find where to go about enabling that, and we'll be talking about other things as well within this Talkback 12.1, which is really good, one has to go to the Talkback menu. Let me quickly do that.
Talkback menu. Read from next item.
So you go to Talkback menu, and then you go to Talkback settings.
Text to speech set talk voice command. Talkback settings. Talkback settings.
In Talkback settings, what we're looking for is scrolling all the way to the bottom and find and tap on the advanced. I will scroll toward the bottom, find and tap on advanced.
Tutorial advanced settings. Advanced settings. Navigate up.
In advanced settings, what we're looking for here is where it talks about typing preferences or something to that effect. Let me see if I find that here.
Element typing preference. Hold finger to select key, then lift.
You tap here where it says hold fingers, select, then lift. It could have been better wording, but anyway, we'll make do with what we have. So here, now that I've tapped on that, by default, you have to lift to type. But if I tap on that one, now we have two options. We've got the
hold finger to select key, then double tap and list. Checked. Hold finger to select key, then lift.
See, the one that is checked is the lift to type. Now, if I move my finger back up,
hold finger to select key, then double tap and list.
Now I'm going to tap.
Advanced settings. Typing preference. Hold finger to select key, then double tap and list.
Now I'm going to quickly show that. I'm going to bring up something like Google Keep.
Folder. Word processing. Office. Folder opened. 3x3. Keep notes.
And I'm going to go to
new text node. Node open. Node. Edit box for node body.
Now I'll put my finger down.
Board. Capital H. Out of list.
See, if I lift my finger, nothing happens. But if I double tap.
Capital H. E. E. M. K. L. 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 I. O. O.
So see, I'm double tapping.
Space.
I have to double tap to give a space.
Hello.
So that's the new feature that we have. And I think a lot of people who prefer to do double tapping to type would really, really like this. And I'm excited that we have this as an option. And so in summary, the way you need to go about enabling this is to go bring up your Talkback menu. Number 2, click on Talkback settings. Number 3, scroll toward the bottom, find and tap on advanced. Number 4, scroll up, find where it says typing preference. Tap in there and make sure you check the one that says double tap. And that's it. You got double tap to type in Gboard. Ed, you want to talk about the next one, which is also huge? We got a couple actually. We have the one that accessibility volume adjustment. You could add that to your granularity settings, and you could also add the scrolling.
There are a few granularity settings changes I want to talk about. The first is to a granularity setting we already had, which is to speech rate. So Before, if you selected speech rate in your granularities, Talkback would say faster, slower as you adjusted it.
I'll show you what Ed is talking about. So in actuality, what used to happen is that if you change your granularity to the speech rate, if you swipe up or down with one finger, it will say faster or slower. Now it actually tells you the percentages, and that's what we're talking about here. See if I could.
Links. Control. Headings. Paragraph. Words. Character. Accessible. Scroll. Speech rate.
Now I'm in speech rate. If I swipe down with one finger.
Speech rate 90%. Speech rate 82. Speech rate 70. Speech rate 60. Speech rate 62%.
You see?
Speech rate 35%.
And
speech
I
rate
swipe
30,
up.
Speech rate 56%.
And then the other thing we want to talk about, you probably heard it in my granularity, a couple other things. And I think this is really cool. Absolutely cool. We got a couple new things, the scrolling and also the accessibility volume. In other words, you could add both the scrolling and accessibility to your granularity. And so the way you go about doing that, of course, always go back into the Talkback menu. I'll take you to the Talkback menu.
Talkback menu.
And then we go down to the Talkback settings.
Text-to-speech settings. Talkback setting. Talkback.
The next thing we want to go to, or the next place we want to go to, would be the customize menus. And that's just below the customize gestures.
Cover proximity, braille keyboard, customize gesture, customize menus.
We go to customize menus.
Customize menus.
And here we have two items. We have the customized Talkback menu, and we have also the customized reading controls. We want to tap on the one that says customize reading controls.
Customize reading controls. Customize reading controls. Navigate up.
Upon tapping on Customize Reading Controls, what we're looking for is found underneath or below the heading that says
Special Features. Heading.
Special Features is what we're looking for. So there's a heading here that says Special Features. And underneath or below that Special Features, here are the items that we have.
Hide screen. Hide audio ducking. Scroll forward or backward. Checked.
So scroll forward or backward by default is not checked, but I have checked that in, and that means that it will now show up in my granularity. So if I'm in a list, for example, instead of swiping up with two fingers to scroll up by pages or whatever, or if I'm in a place that I need to scroll left and right, navigate to that granularity of the scroll and then use the one finger scroll down to scroll through the next pages and things like that in a vertical manner if I have vertical pages. And I believe if you have horizontal pages, you can do the same thing once you've set this to this particular granularity. The next thing is that accessibility volume. Now we have one here that you could also add here.
Accessibility volume. Increase or decrease accessibility volume. Checked. Checkbox.
And by default, that is not checked. And if you check that, now, if I go back, I'll show you what I mean. Let's go to
folder, shopping,
system settings and go through the settings here.
Collapsed. Page open settings.
And now I'm going to change my granularity to the scroll.
Windows, link, control, heading, paragraph, words, character, accessible, scroll.
I am now in the scroll menu. Or I'm in the scroll granularity rather. And instead of scrolling down, using my two fingers to, scrub up, I'll just swipe down with one finger.
Privacy, permissions, account activity.
And then swipe up again.
About phone, Pixel 5.
There we go. That's the last one there. Now, if I swipe down with one finger.
Search settings, out of list.
You could see that it actually scrolled me all the way to the top. And that's what we're talking about here, about the fact that you can now add this granularity to your list of granularities and be able to scroll there without the need of using the two-part finger gesture to scroll through pages. And I think this is really neat. The next item here, of course, that we added to our granularities has to do with the adjusting the talkback or the accessibility volume. And if I navigate to the accessibility volume in my granularity,
accessibility volume,
and if I swipe up,
increase, 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 increase.
You notice that I'm turning.
Accessibility volume set to 90%.
You notice that I'm increasing the accessibility volume. Now I will try to decrease that accessibility volume. Swipe
Decrease,
down,
decrease,
swipe down,
decrease,
swipe
decrease,
down.
decrease, 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 decrease. Accessibility volume set to 40%.
So in other words, if you don't want to have one finger down while it's being held and then repeatedly tap the volume to increase or tap the volume down to decrease, you now have a different way of increasing or decreasing that accessibility volume. And these are the things we're talking about. Now, Ed, there was another thing we were talking about, and that has to do with the Gboard. Again, we're back with Gboard, the Renaissance. So we have the Gboard here, and what's going on here is that now the bug that we had in Android 12.1, which would say speak now or listening, speak now. If you are in the Gboard beta, if you have that beta, which is build 183, the last numbers 183, if you have that, now you don't hear that speak now listening bug that we have. Instead, though, it will sometimes say stop voice dictation. I'll show you. The good news here is that you can actually, when you're done voice dictation, you could simply double tap anywhere to stop voice dictation. So we're kind of getting back what we used to have on Gboard, and I'm so excited about it. Let me show you what I'm talking about by bringing up that Google Keep again.
Folder, word process, office, keep notes, showing English,
All right, it has a Gboard there for me.
board, P, voice input, stop.
Hello and welcome to Blind Android Users Podcast, period. I am pausing here to see if we're going to hear speak now listening. As you can hear, it is not saying that at all. Now I will simply double tap anywhere on my phone, comma, to stop this voice dictation, period.
Sticker keyboard.
All right, now I'll put my finger down.
Keep notes, editing. Hello, stop, hello, and welcome to Blind Android Users Podcast. I am pausing here to see if we're going to hear speak now listening. As you can hear, it is not saying that at all. Now I will simply devote tab anywhere on my phone to stop this voice dictation. Edit box, note for note body, and list.
So in other words, we have a good thing going here, but as you could hear, it sometimes will insert that stop voice dictation at the beginning. Other times I've seen times that it doesn't do that, but other times it does, like you heard it inserting that. But if you start to speak right away, it's not going to catch that in the instance that it does that. You need to start talking right away. But that's better than the speak now listening. And if you pause for a little bit, it'll insert that into your typing. We don't have that anymore. And when you're done typing, simply, or done voice dictation, simply double tap anywhere to stop it. So we have gotten a good thing here. And that's the little plugin I want to give to the Gboard. Kudos to you guys, developers out there. We are so thankful to the Talkback team and all of you guys. Wonderful job.
There is one potential annoyance you might notice with Talkback 12.1. Warren, can I ask you to touch your home button, please?
The only problem is that I can't do that because I don't have a home navigation.
You don't have a navigation bar.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I know what you're talking
flat.
about.
Otherwise, I will do it. Now, what happened in Talkback 9.1 was that Talkback would say home button, and then if you waited long enough, it would say navigation bar. the problem now is that they've reversed it. So if you touch your navigation bar, having previously been somewhere else on your screen, whether that's in your app, or whether that's in your notification shade, whether that's at the status bar at the top, it will say navigation bar home button. Similarly, if you've been, say, on your navigation bar in your app and you touch, I don't know, the battery indicator, it will say system UI and then read the battery percentage, which is slightly more verbiage than you need to hear. Now, some people have said that's really annoying because if I touch it, I have to wait for it to say navigation bar and home button before I can activate a button. That's not actually true. You can interrupt it, tap and double tap to bring it into focus, as long as, of course, you know which control you've touched. Now, on the navigation bar, I submit that should be pretty simple. There are either 3 or 4 buttons on your navigation bar, depending on your use case. So if you touch the navigation bar directly above your charging port, say, you do not need Talkback to say home, as long as it's confirmed during the navigation bar. The home button was there, is there, and forever shall be there. Similarly, if you touch on the bottom right, as long as no keyboard's up, you'll get your recent apps button. You might get your switch input method, or if you've got the accessibility button, you'll get there. But the back is in the bottom left. But you get my point. It's a bit annoying, but you don't necessarily need to listen to the announcement to finish, as long as you know where on the phone screen you've touched. But there is currently no way to disable that navigation bar announcement. Nothing in verbosity. You can fix it. If you set it to lowest verbosity, it'll still say it, but hopefully that'll sort that out.
This is odd, but I know exactly what he's talking about. But what I was going to say is that maybe if one goes into the Talkback settings and goes into the advanced and change the order of the order of items, maybe that would help. This is what I'm talking about. Let's go here.
Talkback settings.
Talkback settings. Go into advanced.
Advanced set.
And then the order.
Custom labels. Single tab element description order. State. Name.
This is the one I'm talking about. Because if you go in here, you can change whether it says button first or it says the name of the item first, or the state first, for instance.
L checked, state, name, type, and list.
Or
type, name, state.
So in that, if I choose this, if I navigate to a system that has the navigation buttons, it will say button home, or it'll say home button, or
name, type, state.
So if I choose this one, it should say home button or something like that before saying that navigation. So I wish that I could.
So I'll try it. My phone is back to life. I don't think this will work.
Yeah, it may not work, but try that. Let's see what happens. Yeah,
because navigation bar is being announced independently of the element and its state. But let's change it. I'm in Talkback settings.
Custom labels. Single tap to activate. Element description order. State. Name. Type.
So element description order, state, name, type. This is what we want to change.
Yeah, go set it to name.
State, name, type, and type.
Now go set it to name.
Name, type, state.
Yeah.
Name, type, state.
Advanced settings. Element description. Typing and keyboard. Heading.
I'll just back out of this. And now I'm going to touch my home button.
Advanced settings and list. Navigation bar. Home button out of list.
Yeah, no, it still does say navigation bar.
Yeah, but the other thing I just mentioned and I want to show you, as long as you know what you've touched, you don't have to listen to that. I can touch my home button and just double tap it immediately.
Navigate. Hyperion. Audible.
So I touched it immediately above my plug. I know that's the home button. It can't be the back or the recents or the accessibility button or the switch input method. Well, it certainly couldn't be that. I didn't have a keyboard. But, don't wait for it to say something when you know what something is. There's no need. So it is annoying, but it's not as annoying as I've seen it painted on certain groups.
Yeah, and these are the things that, will eventually get fixed, and they're not going to be there, permanently or whatever, but at least there are workarounds. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. For example, if you're using a 3-button navigation system, of course, when you're touching the middle at the bottom, that could not be your back or overview button by any stretch of imagination. That definitely is your home button right there. So you just tap there to go home.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, do what Warren does and turn the nav bar off and use the gestures.
Yeah.
That's your other option.